Hey everybody, Mark from Northeast Bastion. How you guys doing? Well, I'm gonna do a video tonight for you. Shouldn't be a long one. One of my subscribers had asked me about the difference between like the Ultra Vibe Speed Craw from Zoom and just the Speed Craw, the Super Speed Craw. Sorry, that's just that's what this is. So really, let's look at the three here. There is a Magnum size which I don't have, but this is the Micro Ultra Vibe Speed Worm. This is the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm. And here is just the Speed Worm here. So as you can see, really the main differences are, obviously, first off, the sizes. So I don't know, Zooms when they created these. I know that this one is a newer one, but this little guy here is probably I don't know, this is the one I hear about the most, just because I think it's so versatile. And I think that probably, now I'm guessing here, if somebody that works for Zoom sees this video, you can can answer in the comments that I would assume, and I don't know this for a fact, that the Ultra Vibe Speedworm, this guy here, was probably maybe the first one of this style that came out. And then, they wanted something that was bigger, bulkier, that maybe gave up more vibration than this little guy. And so then maybe they came out with this guy right here. And then this one, the micro one came out. I think this came out really because baits like Ned rigs are so popular now. Finesse baits are so popular now that something like this on a Ned head can be very effective. And it is. You can catch some good fish on these guys. So if you just look at the body up close of the Ultra Vibe, and I'll just show you the pack here in case you guys are new to the bait. This is the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, and it's the Scuppernong candy color. Not that the color really matters. And it's a Zoom bait. So if you guys are new to this bait, that's what the package looks like. And here's the bait right here. And this is a 3.5-inch bait. Excellent bait for one of the more popular Carolina rig baits that I know of. Excellent for a trailer. You can throw this one on a Ned too. It's only a 3.5-inch bait. Jig trailer. You could probably drop shot it if you want to. When I use this bait, it's essentially either on a Ned head or as a Carolina rig trailer. I have used it as a jig trailer, but there's other trailers I like better. But it's very versatile, very versatile. I mean, you could flip and pitch this with like a small 2 or 3/0 hook probably, if you wanted to. And so I think maybe the popularity of this may have spawned this. And this is the Speed Craw here. And this is the Super Speed Craw, and it's a sapphire blue. It's all, these are all Zoom baits we're talking about here. Just the different sizes. And this is a 4-inch bait. It's just bulkier. It's really just like a bulkier size. This now, the differences are, this one's got 4 little legs. Actually, it's got 6. And it's got that, that patented, claw shape that I call the Ultra Vibe shape that Zoom has. And here, this one, the big guy, which is a 4-inch bait, this only has 4 little legs. And it has that Ultra Vibe, what I call, claw, but they're just bigger. So if you want something that has more action, a bulkier bait, a bigger bait for a trailer, maybe a bigger Carolina rig bait, something bigger to flip and pitch, then that Super Speed Craw might be the one for you. Now there is a Magnum size. I don't know if I mentioned that before or not. That's I think it's 3.25 inch, or maybe 3.5, or I'm sorry, 4.25 or 4.5. I don't have any of the Magnum size ones. I've just used the Speed Craw size, and I don't even use this size as much. This is the one that I tend to use, the Ultra Vibe. And, they're very versatile baits, very versatile baits. So to me, the difference is pretty just, one is, going to give you more vibration, more bulk, give you different, techniques you might want to use this for as compared to this guy, and definitely compared to this guy. To me, this bait here, the micro, is a Ned bait, or I guess you could throw it on a drop shot. These two guys are better for, for jig trailers. If you want a smaller trailer or a bigger trailer, if you want to do more flipping and pitching, you may want this bigger size, the Speed Craw size. And this guy here, you might want for your Carolina rigging more. You might want to, because to me, this is really kind of the normal size, at least here in the Northeast, of the crayfish that are crawling around. The normal, probably the size that's the most abundant in the lakes is probably around that size there, that 3.5-inch size. Sure, there's bigger craws around, but when you look, if you are like me and maybe you're out on your boat and you're fishing, or you're just fishing from the bank and you're in the water, you take a break, you turn over rocks to see what the crayfish, what color they look like, and the size. Most of them are kind of like this or smaller. Occasionally there'll be a big one that'll be going by, but most of the time I think the most numbers of crayfish I see are kind of that size, that 2.5 to 3.5-inch size. That would be my guess. Even this size. They're kind of like that size, more, if you live somewhere where there are real big crayfish like this, hey, this might be the way to go if you're trying to match the crayfish size in your lake. But just looking at them up close, I mean, the bodies, the style are completely the same. On the speed craw, you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 segments up, and then they've got the head, and you've got the claw, which are obviously bigger. Then this one's got, like I said, the 4 legs. They got the 2 little eyeballs there. And this guy, and this is, I believe, the watermelon candy. Yeah, that's the watermelon candy one. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 segments, and then the head, and then the little claws, and it's got 6 little arms on there, or little legs on the side. But to me, that's it. It just depends on what technique you're using. If I'm going to go out and throw a Ned, I'd use these two. If I want to switch up to just a Ned worm, the micro and the ultra vibe. If I want, if I'm going to throw a Carolina rig, I'd use these two. I'd start with this guy. Maybe I try this guy every now and then just to change it up. If I'm not really doing anything with this size of a craw, maybe go to the bigger size, or start big. And if that's not producing, go to the smaller size. I like this one here for that, just because it's compact. It just seems to, to me, it's very unaggressive on the bottom. Just if this, you figure you got your weight up here for your Carolina rig, and this is just getting dragged along the bottom, and these little claws every now and then are moving around, and I'm sure it looks just like a regular little crayfish down there too. But if you're fishing somewhere where you got big bass, or you just want to give them something a little bigger, I mean, it's only a 1/2 inch bigger. It's not like it's a huge difference. But you want, really, I don't think the body size is that big of a difference. I think it's just how much action you want from these claws, because that's going to give you more vibration, more action from that speed craw than this guy is, because these claws are a little tiny, so it's more finessey. That's a big difference there. These claws are probably twice or 3 times the size if you compare them side by side. I know it's hard to, it's hard for me to hold them up and show them to you without my hand getting in the way, but you can see the difference in the size of those claws. So that's kind of it, guys. If you have not used, if you're new to the Zoom speed craw of any size, you like throwing Neds, try that micro. That's the newer one on the block for them. The most popular size, in my opinion, there may be guys who that speed craw is the regular speed craw. The ultra vibe is just because it's very versatile. Anything I can do with that bigger size, I can do with this one. And I can also throw this on a Ned. You could drop shot this, I'm sure, if you wanted to. I don't really drop shot craw baits that much, but you could, just to switch things up. I just think this is a little more versatile. It's kind of like right in the middle as far as size goes. But if you want more vibration, you want a bulkier bait, and you still want that, and you want more, claw action when you're, either dragging, or if you just want a bigger jig trailer. Because if I was going to use this is just one of those queen tackle jigs I got in that last order. If I'm going to use this as a jig trailer, now I think this is a 4-inch, right? This is a 4-inch. To me, that's a little long. I would probably cut this down. So if I wanted the bulk of those claws, try to get this straight on here. If I wanted the bulk of the speed craw claws, but So if I were to rig that like that, to me, that's too long, like that. I don't want my trailer out that far. I don't want fish biting here and missing the hook. To me, that's too long a trailer. So if you're getting into jig fishing and you haven't done it a lot, you don't want your trailer to be that long from that far from the end of the skirt. That's too big. You don't want fish just biting the claws there and not getting the hook. So if I was going to use this speed craw as a trailer, I would probably cut off. Let me see if I just cut off one. I cut off one of these segments and get it down to that size. That might fit a little better. I might want to cut off more. But if you're getting these specifically to use as jig trailers, which is a good option, you might want to trim the speed craw down. Oops. So now that, to me, is a better option. Because now my skirt is coming down right to the tip of the bait. The only thing really away from the skirt is the claws. To me, that's a much better idea. If you want those claws that are going to really, so let's say you're throwing a swim jig and you want to use this as a swim jig, you can get good action with that. That'd be a good trailer, but I would trim it down. Just my personal opinion. I think that's a better, more compact jig, better for swimming if you're swimming the jig, or if you're just dragging the bottom, flipping docks, swimming it past pontoon boats or floating docks. That's a better option right there, cutting it down to that size. If I wanted to use, maybe I want something a little more subtle. So if I went with just the Ultra Vibe, this guy here, I wouldn't have to cut this down. But if I do this, that means maybe I'm fishing those bigger trailers and the fish are not really responding. So I want to just downsize my trailer a little, be a little more finessey, and just go with this guy, which fits on there. When I cut that down, it's pretty much the same size. I've got these claws, but this is going to be less action. So if I want to go a little more finessey, I could still swim this jig, no problem. This would be a great jig trailer at this size. Micro, no, too small. Unless you're throwing a micro-sized jig. Now, if I was going to throw a real finessey 1/8 ounce finesse jig or a little football head, this might be pretty good. That's a discussion for another video, or this video will be longer than I anticipated. But if you're looking at it as a jig trailer, this guy cut down, I'm going to get more action here, if that's what you want. If you're swimming the jig, more action, definitely. Now here you're going to get some action, but it's just not going to be as much. So it depends. Do you want to go more finessey, more subtle, or do you want to be a little more flapping, a little more action? Really up to you. But that's how versatile and what makes these baits so excellent and so strong, because you can do a lot of different things with them. So if your thinking is, oh, that's going to be I want to use that as a jig trailer. This guy here, you don't have to trim down. You just have less claw action. This one, I would suggest that you cut it down. I just cut down one segment. To me, it fits perfectly. That would be a good option for a jig trailer. But that's it, guys. That's really my opinion of it. That's what I think of it when I think of the Ultra Vibe Speedworm family. And there is a Magnum size, a 4.5 inch size, which I don't have. I've never used the 4.5 inch size. So just to kind of wrap everything up, there is the micro size. Great for a Ned, drop shot. For me personally, it's a Ned bait. That's why I got it, to try it as a Ned bait, which I've used it a bit. And not bad. It works. You'll catch fish. The most popular or the most versatile size might be just the Ultra Vibe Speed Craw. As I mentioned, jig trailer. You can still throw this on a Ned. Excellent Carolina rig bait. When I have Carolina rigged, I haven't Carolina rigged once this summer, but when I have Carolina rigged in the past, this is kind of the bait I've been using. A buddy of mine from my old bass club, this was his favorite bait to do, and he kind of turned me on to using it more as than a lizard as trying to speed crawl, and I've done very well with them, so it's a good option. I don't throw a Carolina rig a lot, though. If you see me throwing a Carolina rig, you know I'm probably struggling. I'm probably not doing very well. The big size, the speed craw, and I should say the big size, the next biggest size, just the regular speed craw. This is the black red glitter, the super speed craw from Zoom. That's bag. I mean, you can't even see that. It's all worn out. Jig trailer, like I said, chop off that first segment, flip and pitch it. Good on a swim jig. Very versatile bait, jig trailer, flip and pitch. You can throw this on a Carolina rig if you want to bulk up your Carolina rig. Good use for that. So, you know, lots and lots of uses. It just depends on how much vibration you want. Do you want more subtle, or do you want more flapping for those? Because you could just see the difference in those claw sizes. That's really what the big difference is. And that's a little bulkier bait. But that's it. That's my 2 cents on the comparing those 3 sizes of the speed craw. If I ever decide to get some of the Magnum size ones and try them out, I'll do a video on those. I have never used the Magnum size. Now, when you say Magnum size, you think it's going to be some huge, like 6-inch craw. It's like 4.5 inches. It's only ½ an inch bigger than this guy. So I'm assuming it's just going to be like one more segment. Maybe the claws are a little bigger. Don't know. I've never had one. But that's it, guys. That's my 2 cents on the Zoom speed craw. The differences, what you use them for, how you can kind of doctor them up to get, you know, that's one chopped down. That's the normal size. That's with that segment off that I chopped off there to use as that jig trailer. And to me, when you chop off that one little section there, changes that whole, the use of that bait around. So, you know, don't be afraid to you know, chop some plastic off the baits. Do a little surgery on them, get them to the size you want them, because you may want that bigger claw. That may be the ticket to getting more bites. And, you know, try that. If you think that's what you want to do or how you want to throw it, try that, see how it works. If it doesn't pan out, you can always go, you know, more finessing and go smaller. See if that gets the fish. If they're more interested in that smaller, you know, claws, those smaller ultra vibe claws. All right. So any questions, let me know. If you guys have any other uses for these baits that you want to share with the group, that's great. That's how I got the idea of this. One of the subscribers asked me, you know, the difference between the Ultra Vibe and just the regular Speed Craw. And I said, you know what? We could talk about that. It'd be fun. That's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Any questions, please let me know in the comments. As I said, if you have any other uses for these baits that you guys do, you know, please share them. That's how we all learn on here. That's it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and share this video. If you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Mark out.